What up, Luna-tics? This is Jason Luna here with the first ever episode of Luna-tic's Take on Comic Books X. Working on the title. If you like what you're watching, be sure to hit like, share, and subscribe, and let us know in the comments what other comics you want us to talk about on the show. So the way the show's gonna work is, I figure I know some things about comic books. I'm a authority with no merits or credits to my defense, but I will just explain some comic book things to you. You like the movies and you wanna go a little deeper, and you don't want to read per se. So I did some reading, and I'll pass it on to you. So it's probably better explained by doing it, like George Washington once said. So uh, the movie's coming out this week, so I thought I would give a little bit of a comic book backstory to Black Widow. Very exciting. So, of course, Black Widow is from Russia, so I thought I would go into a brief detail of the important history of that era. Now, in the 19th into the early 20th century, Russia was different. It was they had these oppressive monarchs called the Tsars. Tsar in Russia, Czar in English. Anyway, they're very oppressive monarchs running sort of proto-fascist states. If that's right. If it's wrong, let me know in the comments. Instant traffic. Okay, so these oppressive monarchs near the end of the Tsarist regime were the Nicholases. There was Nicholas the One and Nicholas the Second. And here's a fun fact for you. Most people don't know. Nicholas the One was later controversially given the sainthood, became known as Saint Nicholas, which of course is now Santa Claus. So I just have to say, if you don't like what you got for Christmas, remember, you got an oppressive Russian monarch giving you stuff. So if you got anything at all, that's a plus. It's a surprise. So anyway, Santa Claus 2, or Nicholas 2 to those plebes, is having a rough time. He's running this oppressive regime. His whole thing is that he's on top, and everyone's used to it, and they're gonna go with the flow, like a toilet. And along comes Vladimir Lenin. I'm pronouncing that right. See, Vladimir Lenin was a hippie. You want to lean in and be like, "Psst, hey man, do some marijuana and get into folk music." And how do I know he's hippie? Because he was a communist. He wanted to build these communes, free love and drugs, psychedelic music, really ahead of their time musically. Say what you will about them politically, but I love me some Strawberry Alarm Clock. And that's the only psychedelic band I enjoy. Anyway, these communists, they came in and they're like, "Hey man, I know we're all lovey-dovey pacifists, but we don't like Christmas with the Nicholas." So they take over. They establish a communist regime in Russia. So, United States, back in the early 20th century, the 10s, the 20s, the 30s, they weren't hip. They weren't with it. They were still into big band music and Great Depressions. They're always the United States is always lauding its depression, which I think is a little odd. I'm feeling down today. I don't want to go to work, and that's terrific. That's terrific. Uncle Sam is applauding your depression. So the United States is a bit of a downer versus these hippies. The hippies can be a little annoying, but the United States took it to an extreme, and they're like, "We don't like you." But then all of a sudden we did. Here's what happened. World War II comes along. There was a World War I, apparently. It must not have been as good. Or maybe it was good. It must have been a very lucrative war if they got a sequel. But anyway, World War II comes along, and the United States forms allies with the communists of Russia. Uh, the Nazis were allied with the communists, but then they realized they're hippies and Nazis are fascists, so that fell apart. Who was in that meeting? Who was like, you know who the fascists need to align themselves with? The peace-loving Ruski hippies. This is why the world's crazy. Okay, anyway, the United States is like, hey, we'll ally with the hippies just to get the Nazis out, and they did. And that's not a simplification of it. I mean, the war only lasted a few months. Yeah, I mean, so the communists in the United States won the war. Everyone's happy. Everyone's happy. Here we go. Here we go. But then the war's over, and now we hate the communists. I think we hated them to begin with, but it's a marriage of convenience, much like the marriage between Burt Reynolds and that girl from WKRP in Cincinnati. It was just that was just a merging of power, created such great content as Smokey and the Bandit 2, I guess. Anyway, the communists in Russia and the United States are enemies now because the United States are a capitalist society and the communists are not. They're sharing their money, which the United States says that's terrible. I don't want to get into actual economic politics, let alone promoting communism, but it was intractable. So it was this climate that created the Cold War. And here's another fun fact for you. It's called the Cold War because several years prior, the United States and Russia, in the 20s, the pre-war regime, they had the Hot War. That's right. It was all the attractive women of both countries plotting against each other. It was like, get your Clara Bow and your young Eleanor Roosevelt against some Russian hotties. I'm sure one of them was named Svetlana or Minsk. That's not a name, but stuff like that. They fought in their bikinis and joy was had by all. But this was the opposite. Fully clothed individuals, many of them men. Cold War. Ice cold. The ratings. So, got this Cold War going on. Got a lot of subterfuge. A lot of stuff going on. So Stan Lee comes along and he's like, well, I gotta make a comic book character out of this. Because who doesn't want to take the real world that's going outside, that's terrible and horrifying, and make it into a comic book character? So he makes a villain named the Black Widow, who is a Russian spy, trying to take down the American regime, build some communes in Florida and Alabama and other key targets. So there's that going on. But then why the name Black Widow, you ask? So this is what the conventional thought is, okay? You got your Black Widow spider, which of course is an is a spider whose whose husband died. Very sad. And to compensate for all this grief, biting people and giving them painful poisonous deaths. So then the Black Widow, she wears black and she's dangerous to people, so she's like the Black Widow spider, but that's not correct. Okay, Stan Lee promulgated this idea because it was simpler. It didn't need its own mini series, its own Secret Wars, its own Origins of Ambush Bug, as you will. So anyway, here's the real story. Okay, there was this mischievous spider. He had a fedora. He had a tight trench coat. Inside that trench coat was an envelope. Inside the envelope was pictures of an American spy plane and sneaking around, and he gets caught by the American spiders, which of course are Daddy Longlegs, and Spider from the pop culture product The Cosby Show? No, it's Cockroach. Let's say Cockroach is an American spy. It makes a lot of sense. He's not around a lot on the show, but he's got the ins and outs of the universe. I mean, recent politics aside, you got the Mr. Huxtable is a obstetrician, but he seems to have a lot of extra income, so Cockroach is on that case. So anyway, our spy Spider was killed, and with his last dying breath, he bit Natasha Romanoff. And Natasha Romanoff became the Black Widow. She got spy powers. She had a predilection to kill people that she didn't have before. Another fun fact, Natasha Romanoff had an uncle, not really explored in the comics, was a chef. He invented it's like beef stroganoff. It was beef Romanoff. You get it. You get it. I don't like beef stroganoff, but maybe I like beef Romanoff. That just seems like a practical thing to say. You don't like one dish, then one dish that sounds very similar, you gotta like it more. We'll talk about that later. So, we have this character fully built now. Natasha Romanoff is the Black Widow. She's a spy. She shows up in Iron Man comics to do some Russian spying, using her feminine wiles to get in with the American power elite. And that's what she meets Hawkeye. Talk about Hawkeye on a different project, but Hawkeye is this trained circus archer. That's a job. Every time I go to the circus, it's like, oh look, it's that archer who's really good at archery. Yeah, it's like I think P.T. Barnum was in a bar watching a darts game, and he's like, that's an attraction everyone enjoys. So Hawkeye and Black Widow are in the same group of villains. Hawkeye has a different story where he wanted to be a superhero with his archery stuff, but he made a mistake, and the cops were looking at him for a bank robbery. Black Widow meets him. She's a spy, but she loves Hawkeye, so that's a redeeming trait, you see. So Black Widow's not just the evil Russian spy; she's an evil Russian spy with a heart of gold, and that heart of gold will in turn infuse with her venomous personality, creating a new compound, a venomous gold, if you will, and that venomous gold will gestate with the blood in her body and form positive characteristics that turn her into a superhero. I believe they explain that in Iron Man number 17. Yes. So there's not much to this, really. Black Widow's kind of a villain. She's not a very successful villain. Hawkeye's a villain. He's not a very successful villain. And at some point, everyone's like, hey, you guys should be heroes. You're kind of crappy villains. So just mix it up. That's how comics work, right? Captain America just comes into a meeting and he's like, look, guys, got the readership numbers in from Iron Man, and you guys aren't selling it as villains, and I think we got to try a babyface turn here, and make you good guys. So they did that. Captain America's like running the Avengers now. Captain America's back. Maybe you didn't know he was gone in the first place. I think he was at a party. He fell in the ice at the shrimp buffet. He's frozen for many years. Was found, came out, became an Avenger. Was leading the Avengers. Superhero team needs new members because the older heroes spent too much time at the commune. Damn those communists! And their rose-colored glasses, and their bandanas, and their bell-bottom pants, their free love and whiny way of speaking. Convinced some heroes left. I think, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, they were in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Scarlet Witch was a lady, so they should have called it the brotherhood with a sister. No, or maybe not. That sounds bad. Let me know in the comments. Viewership. Okay, thank you, fans. So that's it. You know, we got these, like, New Edge Avengers for a while. Yep. Black Widow changes her outfit. Before, she was kind of more dressing more realistically, wearing dresses, playing the subterfuge angle, but now she's out as a hero, so she wears a black cat suit, like you do. A lot of Marvel heroes with cat suits. My question: why no dog suits? I don't know. I don't know. So, the Avengers is, you know, it sort of plateaus, if you will. We were with the classic Avengers, now we're with the new Avengers, with the reformed bad guys. Now we're kind of in the 70s and the 80s come along. We're sort of normalizing the behavior. The Avengers change, but it's not changes that are momentous or new. Members come in, members go, and Black Widow leaves. I mean, I figure her thought process was, look, I'm like a Black Widow spider, perhaps. The lifespan's not that great. I've been an Avenger for several years. I gotta enjoy my twilight years. Thankfully, she did not die. That's brilliant. As far as we know, she's not dead yet. Okay, so, you know, 70s is coming along. It's a more freewheeling decade. We got Watergate going on. Politics aren't as centered on the American hero idealism. So she moves to San Francisco and starts dating Daredevil. Yep. I think in the comics they were just like, oh, I got this case in San Francisco, and of course Daredevil's in San Francisco because the devil of Hell's Kitchen. Where do you look for him? You look for him in 3,000 miles away. It's the devil of the BART train system or something. And then they hook up. And they hook up for a while. And it's not the most memorable, you know. Daredevil liked Karen Page before. He liked Karen Page after. Black Widow was cool with it for a while. Making out with Daredevil. Seems nice. And that's where we are. I mean, there's all kinds of future adventures of the Black Widow, but I don't remember them. No, that must have been great. But, you know, the more generic superhero in the 80s was full of team-ups and cosmic ballets. There was the Secret Wars and Secret Wars 2, Secret Wars 3. There was not a Secret Wars 4, as far as I know. But anyway, these things kept unfolding. She was going along, and that is a altogether too long of a brief summary of Black Widow's career. I hope you found this funny. Please let me know in your direct criticisms in the comments section. Like, share, and subscribe if you've not already. If you have, and then I'm dying at the end here. It's too late. You already shared it. Do it again. Anyway, with that, okay, I'll say what's my favorite Black Widow angle. Jesus Christ, I should have. Okay, I will have to say, I like the early stuff with Iron Man, the sneaky Black Widow falling in love with Hawkeye. It's very unique. You don't hear a lot about it, so that was fun to explore. And my least favorite is the end of the Daredevil relationship, because it was a tenuous romantic connection to begin with, and then when they were just gave up on it, you're like, oh, well, yeah, that was bound to happen, but that kind of sucks. I'll think of better awards, if you will, do some more research next time, but for now, this is Jason Luna for the Jason Luna-tic's take on comic book ticks, saying, I just got a notification on my watch. It's totally irrelevant. Good night, everybody. Jason Luna Show on SoundCloud.